Hey, if you're listening right now, maybe, just maybe, you're wondering the same thing I've been asking myself for years. Why do we live? Heis, yeah, that question. The one that sneaks into your head on a quiet night when the world finally stops shouting, and all that's left is your own voice echoing inside your chest. Sometimes it's not even a question. It's more like a sigh, a quiet why that hides behind your smile when you wake up, make coffee, and go through another day pretending you've got everything figured out. But deep down, you know you don't. None of us do. And maybe that's okay. You know, I used to think life was a straight line. You study, work, fall in love, build something, and one day you look back and it all makes sense. Oh boy, I was so wrong. Life isn't a line. It's a messy swirl of moments. Some small, some huge, some so painful you wish you could erase them. But even those moments, they belong to you. They're proof that you lived. Sometimes I wake up and feel empty, like there's a hole in my chest that coffee can't fill. Phew, and on those days, I don't even want to be productive. I don't want to chase goals or tick boxes. I just want to exist, breathe, sit, maybe cry a little, and not feel guilty for it. You ever feel that way? That gentle exhaustion that's not just about the body, but the soul? Yeah, I see you. Yeah. There's a quote I once read. We live not to find meaning, but to create it. At first, I didn't get it. But now, maybe it's true. Maybe we don't live for something fixed, a purpose handed down from the sky. Maybe we live through something, through connection, love, curiosity, through all the tiny moments that remind us we're still human. Like when someone smiles at you on a bad day, when your favorite song plays just as the sun sets. When you laugh so hard, your stomach hurts. Haha, yeah, that kind of moment. That's life. Quiet, ordinary, but real. Sometimes I look at people rushing, eyes on screens, feet on pavement, hearts racing towards something they can't even name. And I wonder, what are we all running toward? Or maybe what are we running from? Maybe both. We chase achievements, success, approval, but at the end of the day, when the lights go out and the room gets quiet, what we really want is something simple. To be seen, to be loved, to feel that our existence matters to someone, even just a little. And if no one's told you this today, you matter. Even when you're tired, even when you don't feel like enough, even when all you did today was breathe. Because sometimes surviving is enough. Phew. Yeah, there were days when I couldn't even open my laptop or answer a message. Days when brushing my teeth felt like a victory. Haha, sounds silly, right? But it's not. It's courage, the quiet kind. The kind no one applauds, the kind that says, I'm still here. I used to think healing was this big, dramatic thing. Like one day, you'd cry, scream, write in your journal, and suddenly, boom, you're healed. But nah, it's slower than that, more tender. Healing happens in small ways. When you let yourself rest, when you forgive yourself for not being productive enough, when you stop comparing your timeline with everyone else's highlight reel. Healing is gentle, it's messy, it's quiet, it's choosing to breathe through the ache instead of running from it. Sometimes, when I record this podcast, I imagine you sitting somewhere, maybe on your bed, maybe in a car at night, or walking under the streetlights with your earbuds in. And I just want you to know that you're not alone in your confusion. We're all trying to figure out why we're here. And maybe that's the beauty of it. Because if life had one single answer, one simple reason to live, wouldn't it be boring? Haha, yeah. The mystery, the chaos, it's what keeps us curious. Okay, breathe with me for a second. Inhale slowly. Exhale softly. Yeah, that's it. Sometimes that's all we can do. Take one gentle breath and trust that maybe it's enough. You know, sometimes we don't lose our way. We just get buried under expectations. Highs, those invisible weights we carry every single day. The pressure to be successful, the fear of disappointing someone, the endless chase to prove that we're doing enough. Oh, it's like running on a treadmill that never stops. No matter how fast you go, the scenery never changes. When I was younger, I thought life was a ladder. Every step was supposed to lead me up. Better job, better place, better version of myself. But now, I think maybe life is more like a garden. You don't climb it, you grow in it. And sometimes growth looks like rest. Sometimes it looks like stillness. Haha, yeah. That kind of stillness that feels unproductive, but it's actually where your roots deepen. Do you remember when we were kids? We used to wake up excited for no reason. We didn't need goals, deadlines, or achievements to feel alive. We'd laugh at clouds, chase butterflies, draw silly things that made no sense. Oh man, it was pure joy, unfiltered, unmeasured. And then we grew up, and someone told us that joy had to be earned, that we had to deserve happiness. Whew, what a lie. Joy doesn't need a reason. You don't have to justify why you smile. You can just smile, even when things aren't perfect, even when you're not there yet. Because maybe, just maybe, the reason we live isn't to find meaning. It's to feel moments like that. There's this tiny cafe I go to sometimes. They play old vinyl records and serve coffee that tastes a little too bitter. Haha, but somehow, it's my favorite place. I sit by the window, watch people pass by, some laughing, some in a rush, some staring at the ground like they've lost something. And I think we're all just stories walking around. Some chapters are full of light, some are drenched in rain, but each one matters. Sometimes I wish we could slow down enough to see our own story as it unfolds, to notice the tiny moments that quietly say, hey, this is life happening right now. Like the warmth of sunlight through the curtain, the sound of your friend's laugh echoing down the phone, the feeling of holding someone's hand and realizing you don't want to let go. Haha, those are the things we'll remember. Not the emails, not the deadlines, not the endless shoulds. Highs, expectations. They can make us forget who we are. We try to be the perfect version of ourselves, the one everyone claps for. But the truth is, that version doesn't breathe. It performs. And sometimes, what we really need is to exhale. Phew, yeah. To let go of the person we think we should be and meet the person we already are. You are not your achievements. You are not your productivity. You are not your pain either. You're something softer, something deeper. You're the silence between two heartbeats, the warmth in someone's memory, the laughter that escapes when you finally stop trying to be enough. Haha, Ironic, right? You already are. There's a quote I wrote on my wall. Don't let your dreams turn into obligations. It reminds me to check in, to ask, am I chasing this because I love it or because I'm afraid not to? Sometimes we say yes to everything because we're scared of being left behind. But real peace comes from learning when to say no. No, I don't have to be perfect. No, I don't have to rush. No, I don't have to know the answer right now. Phew, yeah, that kind of no is actually a yes to yourself. When was the last time you felt light? Like, really light? Not because everything was easy, but because you stopped pretending it had to be. Maybe that's the secret to rediscovering joy, to stop fighting yourself and start befriending the part of you that's tired, confused, and human. Sounds simple, right? But it takes courage. It takes the kind of courage that whispers, I can love myself, even when I don't understand everything. We live in a world that celebrates loud success. But healing is quiet. It happens when you forgive yourself for being human. When you say, it's okay, I'm learning. It's not always easy. But that's what makes it beautiful. Because every time you get up, slowly, gently, maybe even trembling, you remind the world that hope is still alive. And that is something worth living for. Sometimes, I wonder if purpose is overrated. We spend so much time trying to find it, like it's some hidden treasure waiting in a faraway land. But maybe purpose is already here, in the quiet corners of our ordinary days. You know, the world makes us believe that meaning has to be big, that it has to come from achievements, grand adventures, or loud applause. But maybe meaning is small, like the smell of coffee in the morning, or the sound of rain tapping on your window, or the moment you finally laugh after a long day of silence. Yeah, that's purpose too, just softer, easier to miss. I used to think I needed to change the world, to leave some grand mark behind. But phew, the older I get, the more I realize maybe the world doesn't need me to be extraordinary. Maybe it just needs me to be kind. Kind enough to listen, kind enough to forgive, kind enough to keep showing up even when I'm tired. There was this one evening I'll never forget. I was sitting at a bus stop, feeling completely lost. Everything in my life felt meaningless, like I was walking in circles. And then, this little kid, maybe 5 or 6, sat beside me with his mom. He was holding a balloon, red, bright, alive. The wind blew, and it almost flew away. But he laughed, like losing it would have been the funniest thing ever. I remember thinking, what if life is like that balloon? You can't always hold on to it. Sometimes it slips away. But the joy comes not from control. It comes from the moments you let go and still choose to smile. I used to think I needed to change the world, to leave some grand mark behind. But phew, the older I get, the more I realize maybe the world doesn't need me to be extraordinary. Maybe it just needs me to be kind. Kind enough to listen, kind enough to forgive, kind enough to keep showing up even when I'm tired. There was this one evening I'll never forget. I was sitting at a bus stop, feeling completely lost. Everything in my life felt meaningless, like I was walking in circles. And then this little kid, maybe 5 or 6, sat beside me with his mom. He was holding a balloon, red, bright, alive. The wind blew and it almost flew away. But he laughed, like losing it would have been the funniest thing ever. Haha, I remember thinking, what if life is like that balloon? You can't always hold on to it. Sometimes it slips away. But the joy comes not from control. It comes from the moments you let go and still choose to smile. Maybe we don't live to own things, not even moments. Maybe we live to experience them, to let them pass through us like sunlight through glass, leaving warmth even as they fade. You know, sometimes purpose isn't something we find. It's something we create by paying attention. When you help a stranger cross the street, when you send a message saying, "Hey, I'm thinking of you," when you pause, take a breath, and decide not to be harsh with yourself or someone else. Haha, yeah. Those tiny things, they matter. They're invisible threads that hold this messy, beautiful world together. Highs, I think about how we measure success. By numbers, followers, money, productivity. But what if the truest success is simply staying kind in a world that sometimes isn't? That's not small, that's brave. Maybe we don't live to own things, not even moments. Maybe we live to experience them, to let them pass through us like sunlight through glass, leaving warmth even as they fade. You know, sometimes purpose isn't something we find. It's something we create by paying attention. When you help a stranger cross the street, when you send a message saying, "Hey, I'm thinking of you," when you pause, take a breath, and decide not to be harsh with yourself or someone else. Yeah, those tiny things, they matter. They're invisible threads that hold this messy, beautiful world together. I think about how we measure success by numbers, followers, money, productivity. But what if the truest success is simply staying kind in a world that sometimes isn't? That's not small. That's brave. There's a poem I once read that said, "Purpose is not a destination, it's a direction." And I like that because directions can change. Sometimes we go forward, sometimes sideways, sometimes we rest. Phew, and that's okay. Life isn't a straight road. It's a series of turns, detours, pauses, and each one teaches us something about who we are. You don't have to know your big purpose right now. You just have to be present enough to notice the small ones, like when you comfort a friend, or water a plant, or whisper to yourself, "It's okay, I'm still learning." Haha, yeah, that's purpose too. I used to wake up anxious every morning, like I was late for something, even when I wasn't. Highs, that feeling of always needing to do more. But lately, I've been learning to start slow, to sit with my coffee and ask, what do I actually need today? Sometimes the answer is rest. Sometimes it's courage. Sometimes it's just a quiet moment of gratitude. Phew, maybe the question isn't, what am I living for? Maybe it's, how am I living today? Because meaning isn't something that appears suddenly. It grows quietly, like a plant, watered by your daily choices. Every gentle act, every deep breath, every moment you choose love over fear, that's meaning in motion. Haha, I know, it sounds simple, but simple things are often the hardest to practice, like forgiveness, like patience, like staying hopeful. even when things don't make sense. Hope doesn't always look like fireworks. Sometimes it's just the decision to wake up and try again. Highs, and that's beautiful. There's a scene I love, a sunset. The sky turns gold, orange, then purple. It lasts only minutes, but we stop everything to watch. No one asks, what's the point of this sunset? We just feel it. Maybe life is like that. You don't have to understand it fully. You just have to be present enough to feel it while it's here. So, if you're listening to this right now, wondering what your purpose is, take a breath. Look around. There's life happening everywhere. In the laughter next door, in the light on your desk, in the way your heart still beats, quietly, faithfully. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to notice, because that noticing is living. You know, sometimes I think we're too obsessed with being better. Highs, always improving, upgrading, fixing, as if being human is some kind of project that's never finished. But what if being unfinished is what makes us beautiful? I mean, think about it. The sky isn't perfectly blue. There are clouds. The sea isn't always calm. It has waves. And your heart? It's not always steady. It trembles. It hurts. It heals. Haha, yeah, maybe that's the art of living. Not perfection, but the courage to stay soft, even when things get messy. I used to hide my flaws. Every little crack, every insecurity, every mistake, I thought they made me less worthy. But then one day, someone looked at me and said, you know, that's the most human thing about you. Phew, it hit me so deeply. We spend so much time trying to polish ourselves into something flawless. But the truth is, people don't fall in love with perfect things. They fall in love with our highs. Perfection can be so loud. It demands, it compares, it shouts. But authenticity whispers. It says, it's okay to be tired. It's okay to not have it all together. It's okay to just be. Maybe that's what we need more of. Softness. A little more gentleness toward ourselves. Haha. You know what's funny? When I make mistakes on this podcast, like a pause too long, a breath too heavy, or a nervous laugh, I used to cut it out. Now, I leave it in, 'cause that's me, and maybe, somewhere, someone listening thinks, I'm not the only one who stumbles. Phew! That connection, the quiet kind, that's real magic. Highs. Perfection can be so loud. It demands, it compares, it shouts. But authenticity whispers. It says, it's okay to be tired. It's okay to not have it all together. It's okay to just be. Maybe that's what we need more of. Softness. A little more gentleness toward ourselves. Haha, you know what's funny? When I make mistakes on this podcast, like a pause too long, a breath too heavy, or a nervous laugh, I used to cut it out. Now, I leave it in, because that's me. And maybe, somewhere, someone listening thinks, I'm not the only one who stumbles. Phew, that connection, the quiet kind, that's real magic. We live in a world that celebrates speed. Faster internet, faster delivery, faster everything. But healing doesn't work like that. Healing is slow. Growth is slow. Learning who you are takes time. And that's okay, because when you slow down, you start to see things again. The color of the sky after rain. The way your breath softens when you finally stop rushing. The tiny, beautiful details that speed makes invisible. I used to think slowing down meant falling behind. But now I know slowing down is coming home. Coming back to your body, your breath, your truth. It's not laziness, it's presence. Haha, yeah. The kind of presence that says, I don't need to chase. I just need to be here. Sometimes when I walk through the park, I see old couples sitting quietly on benches. No phones, no noise, just existing together. And I think maybe they've already learned the secret we keep missing. That life isn't measured by how fast you go, but by how deeply you feel. It's not about collecting moments, but inhabiting them. There's a Japanese word I love, wabi-sabi. It means the beauty of imperfection, the appreciation of things that are simple, worn, incomplete. Like a cracked teacup that still holds warmth, or an old photograph fading at the edges but full of memories, or a person still learning how to forgive themselves. Phew, yeah, that's wabi-sabi. That's life. I once broke my favorite mug, the one I used every morning. For weeks, I refused to throw it away. One day, I decided to glue it back together, but instead of hiding the cracks, I filled them with gold paint. Now, every morning, when I drink my coffee, I see those golden lines. And you know what? They remind me that broken things can still be beautiful. Sometimes even more beautiful than before. We all have our cracks, don't we? The heartbreaks, the disappointments, the nights we thought we wouldn't make it through. But somehow, we're still here, still breathing, still trying. And that's courage. You might not notice it, but every day you get up and face the world again, you're proving that resilience isn't loud, it's quiet. Steady, soft. Sometimes we think our value depends on how much we can do. But maybe our value is simply that we exist, right here, right now. That's enough. Yeah. You don't need to earn the right to rest. You don't need to prove your worth to anyone. You are allowed to be both a masterpiece and a work in progress. So maybe the reason we live isn't to become perfect, but to learn how to love ourselves, especially in our imperfect moments, to forgive, to soften, to slow down. We don't have to rush toward meaning. Sometimes meaning finds us in the quiet, in the waiting, in the breath between heartbeats. Take one right now, will you? Inhale slowly, exhale softly. Feel that? That's life. Still here, still moving, still full of quiet miracles. Maybe that's why we live. To breathe, to notice, to love imperfectly. You know, every night eventually ends. No matter how long the darkness feels, the sun always finds its way back. And maybe so do we. There was a time I thought I was broken beyond repair. Days when getting out of bed felt like climbing a mountain. When my thoughts felt heavy, my heart too tired to try again. But something small always pulled me through. A message from a friend, the sound of rain. The way morning light slipped quietly through the curtains. Phew. Yeah, tiny things. But somehow, they whispered, stay. Just one more day. And one day became two. Two became three. And before I knew it, I was laughing again. Softly, awkwardly, but still laughing. It felt like remembering how to breathe after forgetting for too long. Maybe that's how healing works. It doesn't crash in like a wave. It returns in fragments, in smiles, in songs you thought you forgot, in the way you start to look forward to tomorrow again. That's life coming back, quietly, gently, faithfully. You see, we don't live because life is easy. We live because somehow, despite everything, there's something in us that refuses to give up. Phew. Maybe it's love. Maybe it's hope. Maybe it's just curiosity. That small, innocent voice that asks, what if tomorrow surprises me? Haha, yeah. What if it does? When I was little, I used to stare at the stars for hours. I didn't understand anything about the universe, but it made me feel small in a comforting way. Like my problems couldn't be as big as I thought. Maybe that's why we need wonder, to remind us that life is bigger than our pain, that even in chaos, there's beauty. Sometimes we forget that, don't we? We forget that just being here, breathing, listening, feeling is already a miracle. You don't have to do something grand to deserve this life. You don't need a reason to wake up and start again. You just can. Phew. Yeah, you can. Even when you don't believe it yet, especially then. Because life doesn't ask for perfection. It just asks for participation. What a relief, huh? Maybe the meaning of life isn't a single answer. Maybe it's a collection of little ones, tiny sparks that appear when you least expect them, like helping someone who needs it, or dancing alone in your room, or crying and realizing your tears mean you still care. Maybe that's it, to care again and again, even after it hurts. Highs. That's brave. I once read that the opposite of hopelessness isn't joy, it's curiosity. The willingness to ask, what else could happen? What might still be waiting for me? And that question, that tiny opening, it's where the light gets in. Whew. Yeah, that's where everything begins again. Sometimes living fully doesn't mean changing your life. It means being awake for it. The laughter, the loneliness, the heartbreak, the healing, all of it belongs. All of it teaches. All of it makes you, you. You know, I used to chase happiness like it was something I could earn. Now, I think happiness is less like a goal and more like a visitor. It comes when you create space for it. And that space often appears when you stop running, when you sit still, breathe, and whisper, I'm here. That's when joy quietly knocks again. Sometimes, I imagine talking to my younger self. I'd tell him, you don't have to figure it all out right now. I'd tell him that feeling lost doesn't mean failure, that being sensitive isn't weakness, that choosing kindness, even when the world isn't kind, is strength. Shoo! Yeah, I'd tell him that it's okay to rest, to start over, to begin again and again and again. And that it's never too late to love life differently. So why do we live? Maybe we live to remember that question and to answer it differently every day. Some days we live for the people we love. Other days, for the quiet peace we find in solitude. Sometimes we live simply because the sky looks beautiful, and that's enough. There doesn't have to be one reason. There can be many, changing, growing, just like us. Highs, if today feels heavy, please remember, the light always returns. Whew, not all at once, Maybe not tomorrow, but slowly, kindly, like dawn. And one day, you'll wake up and realize the ache has softened and the world feels possible again. Haha, yeah. You'll smile, maybe for no reason at all, and that'll be enough. Because the truth is, life isn't about avoiding pain. It's about finding love, meaning, and connection within it. We live because there are still stories to tell, still songs to hum, still sunsets to watch, and people to hold. We live because even when everything feels uncertain, hope, that tiny, stubborn flame, still flickers inside us. And that flame is what makes us human. So breathe. Phew. Look up. Let the light in. You don't have to know exactly where you're going. Just keep walking, keep feeling, keep living. Because somewhere along the way, you'll realize you've been home all along. Why do we live? A journey through loss, softness, and rediscovery. Thank you for listening and for staying. Let's keep choosing to live gently, fully, beautifully.